the vocabulary. Fright, a sudden intense feeling of fear. Darna, fright. Leaped, jumped. Stream, a small river. Another word we have done, that is brook. Dashing across, to run quickly across some area. फटाफट से भाग जाना. Shriek, a scream. चिल्लाना ना, that is shriek. Shriek voice, कहते हैं ना तीखी सी आवाज. Shriek voice, a scream. Whipped off, to beat with a strap, lash or to punish. किसी को मारने के लिए पहले के टाइम पे यूज होता था बहुत, अब तो फिर भी बहुत रेयर है, कुछ एरियाज में ही शायद यूज करते होंगे, बट दैट इज चाबुक. लैश और स्ट्रैप से किसी की पिटाई करना, मारना, किसी को पनिश करने के लिए, दैट इज whipped off. Astonished, surprised greatly, हैरान हो जाना. Groaning, denoting a deep sound, conveying pain. होता ना कि दर्द में आप बोल रहे हो, एक्सप्रेस कर रहे हो अपने पेन को. How many men were there? You have to answer the questions. How many men were there? Earlier we were talking about that the men were chasing the dogs, the hounds. Now you have to tell me how many men were there and what happened when the hare make her way to the road. After then you will come to know that the hare made her way to the road. How? You have to tell, you have to come to know, and then you have to tell me that what happened when she made her way to the road. जब वो रोड पे चली जाती है तो क्या होता है उसके साथ? Let's see. Now we shall see the hare, said my mother, and just then a hare with fright rushed by. With fright मतलब डरी हुई थी, है ना, rushed by फटाफट से भाग रही थी, and made for the woods. She made her way to the woods, bunches of trees में. On came the dogs. They burst over the bank, leaped the stream, and came dashing across the field, followed by the huntsmen. 6 or 8 men leaped their horses clean over, close upon the dogs. The hare tried to get through the fence. But it was too thick. And she turned sharp round to make the road, but it was too late. The dogs were upon her with their white cries. We heard one scream, and that was the end of her. Very sad. What happened? As dogs were chasing rabbit, hare, and they were chased by men, right? Riding the horse, and they were chasing dogs, and dogs were chasing hare, and she was trying to escape. So she made her way first to the woods, and then there she found that there is the thick boundary. Then she tried to make her way to the road. रोड पे अपना रास्ता ढूंढने लगी जाने के लिए. It was too late, and then the dogs came upon her. उसके ऊपर आ जाते हैं, and there was a sound, a scream, चिल्लाने की आवाज आई. That was the end of her. It means she was died at that time. She tried hard to save herself, but unfortunately, she was died by the hounds. One of the huntsmen rode up and whipped off the dogs. इन पे चाबुक चलाया उसने, उनमें से एक ने, who would soon have torn her to pieces. He held her up by the leg, torn and bleeding, and all the gentlemen seemed well pleased. And then the man picked the dead rabbit, the hare, with her leg, and they were very pleased, very happy. As for me, means for the Black Beauty, for the narrator, I was so astonished, surprised, that I did not at first see what was going on by the brook. He was very small at that time. But when I did look there was a sad sight. 2 fine horses were down. Only 2 horses were there, Two fine horses were down. One was struggling in the stream. Now, what has happened? They all went away, and there were only two horses there with men. One was struggling in the stream, means in the river. One man and one horse was struggling in the river, and the other was groaning on the grass. दर्द में चिल्ला रहा था, रो रहा था on the grass. On the other riders was getting out of the water covered with the mud. और जो one of the riders has fallen down in the stream, in the river. Then he came up from the river and he was covered with mud, and the other lay quite still. And the other rider, the other person who was falling on the grass, he was still there and he was unmovable. He was not able to move at that time. So what happened in this part of the story, that dogs hunted the hare and they killed the hare, right? And then men came there and they wiped off the dogs, and then the dogs went away. At that time, there were, on the other side, there were a person, a rider, fallen down in the stream, and one person fallen down on the grass when they were trying to reach the hare. Okay, so the person who has fallen down in the river, that came up and covered with, at that time he was covered with mud. And the person who has fallen down on the grass, he was unmovable. He was not able to move. This was the situation that that had happened still. Okay, let's talk about the next part and the vocabulary. Stag, a male deer. Square, a man of high standing, or we can say landowner. Who owns the land? ठीक है, जो लैंड्स के मालिक होते हैं, लैंड ओनर होते हैं, उनको स्क्वायर भी बोलते हैं. So the question for this part is, why men are so fond of this sport? Who said this? Fond of means शौकीन होना. तो why the men are so fond of this sport? Which sport? Yes, hare crossing. So someone is asking, why the men are fond of this hare crossing? Who said this? You have to tell me. His neck is broke, said my mother, Black Beauty's mother. And serve him right too, said one of the colts. I thought the same, but my mother did not join with us. Well, no, she said, you must not say that. But though I am an old horse and have seen and heard a great deal, I never yet could make out why men are so fond of this sport. They often hurt themselves, often spoil good horses and tear up the fields and all for a hare or a fox or a stag, that they could get more easily some other way. But we are only horses and don't know. Now the mother is raising the question. She is saying that men are doing all these things just because of their passion, their interest, their amusement, their entertainment. They are doing so. But they can get the hare, a fox or stag in some other way also, no? They can get. But why they are doing through this game? This game hurts themselves, right? Men are hurting also. They hurt to whom or else? They hurt the horses also. They spoil the horses. They tear up the fields. मैदानों को जो ग्रासलैंड्स हैं उनको भी खराब करते हैं. Horses हैं उनको भी spoil कर देते हैं, खराब कर देते हैं, hurt कर देते हैं, और उनको खुद को भी चोट लगती है ना? So why they are doing so? Why the horse riders are doing so? But we are only horses. We don't know. The mother is saying, we are only horses. We don't know why the horse riders are doing this game. While my mother was saying this, We stood and looked on. Many of the riders had gone to the young man. Now, let's go to the scene where horse and the rider has fallen down. So, at that situation, young man, many of the riders go there to that young man who was fallen down, laying on the grass. But my master, who had been watching what was going on, was the first to raise him. Whose master? Black Beauty's master. That went ahead, who was the first to raise him, to raise that person who was laying on the ground. That person's head fell back and his arms hung down. Head fell back and arms hung down. And everyone looked very serious. The persons who were standing there, they were very serious. There was no noise now. Even the dogs were quiet, calmed. They were not barking and seemed to know that something was wrong. Something went wrong. They carried him to our master's house. To whom they have carried? Yes, the person who was lying beside the horse. And where they have taken the person? To our master's house. Black Beauty's master house. I heard afterward that it was young George Gordon. Who is young George Gordon? The person who was laying beside the horse. The squire's only son, landowner's only son, iklota beta, a fine tall young man and the pride of his family. Now let's come to the next part and the vocabulary. Frere, a smith who shoes horses. Really, it is very difficult task to put the shoes or a layer on the horse's foot. That's very painful, very painful. Extreme pain is there. And who gives shoes to horses? The person is known as fire. Bang, a loud sound. एकदम जोर से धम की आवाज आती है. That is bang. Tolling, to sound with slow strokes. Slow strokes से bell को ring करना. That is known as tolling. Ringing भी, we can say ringing, but what is the difference? If we are ringing the bell for some purpose, like something misfortune has happened, that is not good, or sorrow, something we want to show our sorrow, so for that we use the word tolling instead of ringing. Bury, put or hide underground. Put the things or dead person underground. Now time for the question. What was the name of the horse who had died in the game? So the one thing you should come to know now, that one person had died. So you have to tell me the name of the person. I have given the clue. Now the last part of the chapter, there was now riding off in all direction to the doctors, to friars, and no doubt to Squire Gordon's, to let him know about his son. They all have taken the man who was lying on the ground, taken to the Black Beauty's master's house, right? Then after then, all the riders, they rushed to doctor, friars, or obviously Squire Gordon. Why? Because the person was injured. That person was the son of Squire Gordon. So obviously it is their duty to inform that your son has fallen down and he is not fine now, to let him know about his son. Yes. When Mr. Bond, the friar's name is Mr. Bond, came to look at the black horse that lay groaning on the grass, he felt him all over and shook his head. One of his legs was broken. Then someone ran to our master's house and came back with the gun. Presently there was a loud bang and a dreadful shriek, dreadful, bhayanak shriek, a loud sound, and then all was still, unmovable. The black horse moved no more. The horse who was lying on the floor, on the ground, on the grassland, someone has come up and shoot that black horse. I'll show you through the picture. This horse, he was lying still there, right? The person who was lying beside him, they have taken to master's house, right? But suddenly when they all were in the house and the doctor was treating George Gordon, at that time one man come out and shoot the black horse who was lying on the grassland, and then obviously he was dead. So here we have come to know that two animals, we can say, has died still. One was here rabbit and second was the black horse. Whose horse was there? George Gordon's horse. And George Gordon was also injured, but the animal, someone has killed the horse only. My mother seemed much troubled, stressed. She said she had known that horse for years. बहुत सालों से उसे जानती थी, and that his name was Rob Roy. So black horse who was lying on the grass was killed by someone whose name was Rob Roy. He was a good horse and there was no vice in him, no flaws, कोई कमी नहीं थी उसमें. She never would go to that part of the field afterward. Not many days after, we heard the church bell tolling for the long time, tolling the bell they have heard after few days. And looking over the gate, we saw a long strange black coach that was covered with black cloth. एक box type में कोई लेके आ रहे हैं, and that coach was covered with black cloth and was drawn by black horses. Who was taking that coach? Black horses. After that came another and another and another. After that there were some more horses after and after, and all were black, while the bell kept tolling and tolling and tolling. वो बजती जा रही थी है ना? They were carrying young Gordon to the churchyard, and they were carrying young Gordon. It means young Gordon also had died. चर्चयार्ड, चर्च का जो आंगन होता है उसे बोलते हैं चर्चयार्ड. टू bury him. Why they are coming to churchyard? To bury the George Gordon. He would never write again. What they did with Rob Roy, I never knew. Definitely they have killed the Rob Roy, but did they bury him? We don't know. What they did with that horse, we don't know. But it was all for one little hair. There were 3 dead persons or animals, hare, black horse, and George Gordon. But this is only for a hare. They wanted to catch the hare just for their entertainment. That's it. So this is my last question for you. Do you think hunting is a good game? Think about it and let me know. Think it should be banned or it should be continued. Thank you.